the engine shuts off. For the first time in hours, there is no vibration beneath your hands, no wind pressing against your chest, no road unfolding in front of you. You remove your helmet, set it down, and someone nearby smiles. How was the ride? It should be an easy question. You enjoyed the trip. Nothing went wrong. You may have felt more alive on that motorcycle than you have all week, but instead of telling the story, you give a short answer. Good. Then you check the bike. Slowly take off your gloves. Drink some water, stare at nothing for a while. To the person watching, your silence can look like exhaustion, irritation, or emotional distance. They may wonder whether something happened on the road or whether you were upset with them. But sometimes a rider becomes quiet after a long ride, not because the experience was empty. Sometimes it is because the experience has not finished inside them yet. From the outside, riding can look like pure freedom. The open road, the landscape, the sound of the engine, the feeling of moving through space without having to answer to anyone. And it can feel freeing. But freedom does not mean the brain is doing nothing. During a long ride, your attention is constantly working. You monitor speed, balance, traffic, mirrors, wind, road conditions, fuel, body position, and the behavior of drivers who may not see you. You notice a patch of gravel before you consciously name it. You feel a change in the bike before you understand exactly what changed. You calculate distance, movement, and risk through hundreds of small adjustments that happen almost automatically. This intense organization of attention can feel peaceful because it leaves little room for mental noise. You are not thinking about 10 things at once. You are thinking about the road, but focused attention still uses energy. When the motorcycle stops, the task ends immediately. Your nervous system may not. The key is turned. The engine goes silent. But part of you is still scanning, predicting, and adjusting. That is why conversation can feel strangely abrupt. A person starts asking questions. The television is playing, a dog is barking, your phone is vibrating, and someone wants to know what you want for dinner. None of these demands is unreasonable. But after hours of filtering movement, sound, weather, and risk, even ordinary conversation can feel like one more stream of information arriving before your mind has cleared the previous one. So you become quiet. You clean the visor, arrange your gear, walk around the motorcycle, sit alone for a few minutes. These actions may look unnecessary, but they can create a low-demand environment where your attention is allowed to stop performing. Silence becomes sensory decompression, not rejection, not anger. A gradual return from one state into another. But physical recovery is only the first layer. For many riders, the road offers something that is difficult to find anywhere else. Temporary autonomy. At work, you answer emails. At home, you respond to questions. In relationships, you explain your decisions, consider other people's feelings, negotiate plans, and manage expectations. On the motorcycle, the feedback is immediate. You choose the direction, you control the pace, you make a decision, and the machine responds. For a few hours, you are not an employee, a parent, a partner, a supervisor, or the person everyone calls when something goes wrong. You are simply the person riding. That temporary simplicity can feel deeply restorative, especially if your ordinary life requires you to be constantly available. So returning home is not just parking a motorcycle, it is re-entering a network of roles. The moment your helmet comes off, the world begins asking for you again. Not just your physical presence, but your social presence, your explanations, your reactions, your emotional availability. Even affection can feel intrusive when it arrives too quickly. This does not mean you do not love the people waiting for you. It may mean that the version of you who existed on the road has not fully transitioned back into the version everyone else recognizes. And sometimes, what is difficult to leave behind is not the road itself. It is who you became while you were on it. Focused, capable, unobserved, self-directed. There is another reason the silence can continue. Long stretches of movement can bring thoughts to the surface that ordinary life keeps buried under distraction. You are not scrolling. You are not answering messages. You are not filling every empty moment with conversation. The road occupies enough of your attention to quiet the usual mental chaos, but sometimes it leaves just enough space for something deeper to emerge. A memory, a decision you have been postponing, the realization that you are unhappy at work, the sudden awareness that you miss someone, a feeling of relief that reveals how much pressure you have been carrying. Nothing dramatic has to happen during the ride, yet you may return with an internal experience that did not exist clearly when you left. Someone asks, "How was it?" But the honest answer is no longer just, "It was fun." The honest answer might require you to explain fear, peace, grief, anger, or clarity that you have not yet translated into words. So you say, "Good," and you remain quiet. This is where the silence becomes more complicated, because silence after a ride can be healthy regulation. It can also become a defense. One rider may say, "Give me 20 minutes to settle down," then return calmer, more open, and ready to connect. Another rider may use the ride and the silence afterward to remain unreachable for the rest of the day. The behavior looks almost identical. The psychological function is different. Healthy silence creates enough space for you to reconnect. Defensive silence creates enough distance for you to avoid reconnecting. One is a pause. The other is a wall. The difference is not whether you need time alone. The difference is what that time makes possible. Do you return more available? Or does silence allow you to postpone a conversation you do not want to have? Does the quiet help you understand what you are feeling? Or does it protect you from having to feel it in front of someone else? For some riders, competence has become more than a skill. It has become an identity. On the motorcycle, you trust your reactions. You solve problems quickly. You tolerate uncertainty. You manage risk without asking anyone for permission. That can strengthen genuine confidence. But it can also make other forms of uncertainty feel uncomfortable, especially emotional uncertainty. You may know exactly what to do when the weather changes, when traffic tightens, or when the road becomes difficult. But when someone asks whether you felt afraid, lonely, overwhelmed, or vulnerable, there is no instrument panel telling you the correct response. The road lets you prove that you can handle yourself. Relationships sometimes ask you to admit that you should not have to handle everything alone. That shift can feel harder than the ride. So the deeper question may not be, why do riders become quiet? It may be, what is the silence protecting? Perhaps it protects your nervous system from more stimulation. Perhaps it protects a realization that is still taking shape. Perhaps it protects the feeling of autonomy you are not ready to surrender. Or perhaps it protects an identity built around never needing anyone. This is not something another person can determine simply by watching you remove your helmet, but you can begin to notice it. The next time you return from a long ride and feel yourself withdrawing, do not force yourself to speak immediately. Just ask one honest question. Is this silence helping me return or helping me avoid returning? You may genuinely need a few quiet minutes. Take them, but give the silence a door. A simple sentence can prevent another person from turning your recovery into a story about rejection. The ride was great. I just need a little time to come down before I talk. That sentence protects your space without making someone else guess what your distance means. And when you're ready, reconnect. Because the healthiest form of independence is not permanent isolation. It is the ability to move between solitude and connection without becoming trapped in either one. The engine shutting off does not mean the ride is over. Sometimes your body has arrived before your mind. Sometimes your mind has arrived before your emotions. And sometimes you remain quiet because the road returned you with more internal experience than language can immediately hold. The silence is a threshold. It may be a bridge back to yourself and then back to the people who care about you. Or it may become a place where you hide from everything waiting beyond the garage. Only you can know which one it is. If you recognize yourself or someone you love in this, share your experience in the comments and subscribe for more explorations of the psychology behind everyday behavior.